Doodlebud. I'm here today with my little buddy, Mr. Brown, and we're going to be talking about the Parker 51 and its alternatives. So the Parker 51 is probably the most duplicated, replicated, imitated, influenced by fountain pen that there ever has been made. And it's a great fountain pen, but maybe it's a little too expensive. So I thought, let's look at some alternatives to the original Parker 51 and see, there's some super cheap ones. I'm not doing those, but there are some decent ones. And which ones can we conclude are the best economical original Parker 51 alternatives? So I'll walk you my Parker 51. I have a video I did more review on it, but this is the Parker 51 Special. So this doesn't have the gold nib. It's got the Octavian nib, which just means it's an alloy of 8 different metals. So anyways, nice metal cap, really well built. You can check a little more about it afterwards. It's got the Aerometric converter on here as well, or I shouldn't say converter, but filling system. This pen, just the way it's designed, you can find lots of information on it, but it just writes all the time. You pick it up, you write it, boom, away you go. It's called the Queen's pen. The Queen keeps a Parker 51 in her purse at all times. Just really good. Like, you might not love the styling, but as far as performance, it is just a real fantastic pen, right? It's always going to work for you. It's always going to write. I can see why a lot of people wanted to, make their version of this pen. So first up, a very common one. So this is the Jinhao 51A retail price. It depends when you see this video, your country, your exchange rate, all that. I don't know. But mine was, $6-7. So considerably cheaper. This was 120 Canadian and $6-7. So, okay, obviously a lot cheaper. And it's going to be cheaper. But let's take a look through this pen here. So obviously a few little differences. We got the ball here on the clip. We got the Jinhao on the edge. Right away when you feel it, you can feel the sharp edge. I mean, again, for $5-6, there's not a ton of quality control. But it overall feels well. Capping system, not as smooth, of course, but cap goes on, right? And it posts nicely as well. They're not keeping the same color through the section and all that stuff. So just a black section and you pick whatever upper body you want. Comes apart. Threads are sort of smooth, but it's metal attacking this stuff, and you can, I always gripe about that, but you can see the material on there. But again, it shouldn't wear out unless you go crazy on it. It should be pretty good. And cartridge converter system. So, we've evolved past these type of fillers. They still work okay, but I understand you got to resack it and all that stuff over time versus you can just pop a converter out, get a new one if that goes. So there is some advantages to that, cartridges as well. But so nothing too special there, standard stuff. But, I pick this pen up. I always forget it's inked a lot of the times, and I just will randomly grab it after a couple months, pop it out, and away it goes. The nib is hooded as well. A little more sticks out on there, but very, very similar design cues. This catch here for the cap and all that stuff. Again, I've done more in depth on these pens before. You can check those out. But overall, it works for $5-6-7, whatever the price is these days. Pretty darn good pen, especially for chucking around. If not, if you're on a budget, all that stuff, or just have a pocket pen or one in the car, or just, you're got to use it and abuse it, and you don't want to damage a good pen, right? So great alternative for that. Next up, we got the Wingsung 601. So this one is the vacuumatic type. So you pop off the blind cap on this one, plungy, and again, there's a diaphragm in there, pulls up ink. Same thing. So here we are. It's much more similar, like with clips and everything else. Again, you can swap caps. The cap is a better cap. It is heavier. It is well built. It's smoother. But again, you can see fits on there like a glove, like it's the original. The Parker 51. This is a nicer cap. This is just a luster alloy, not even the gold cap. But again, this one I think was closer to the $20 range, maybe high teens or maximum $19.99 kind of thing. But it is, in my opinion, better built pen. I'm not going to take this all apart right now because it's inked, and just how this goes together, it will get ink all over the place. So not a cartridge converter. It's got an old style filling system, the Vacuumatic. And, not as easy to clean as, a cartridge converter. Those are pretty easy, but it's not too bad. But I find it's better for not switching your inks a bunch. But in the hand, it does feel nicer than the Jinhao 51A, and it should, because it costs more money. And lastly, these two here, this is the Jinhao 86. So this is new for 2021. They re-released the Parker 51, and I was interested to see what that was all about. And then once I learned more about it, I didn't want to see what it was all about. I just didn't do it for me. So what they did is, the big thing on it is they went to a screw cap on there as well. Some slight design changes and stuff like that, dimensions and whatnot too. So of course, Jinhao comes out with their version to give you an alternative to the new re-release of the Parker 51. These things are really cheap. I think it was $3-ish, maybe even less than $3, and a touch of shipping on AliExpress. I'll try to leave links in the bottom if I forget, but feels pretty good. I almost say it feels nicer than the 51A. Nothing wrong as far as performance, but as far as how it looks, the ball is a little, whatever. This does look a little more elegant, but just, again, even back to the cap, a little more burrs and stuff like that. So this does feel like a little more refined, and it's cheaper than the other one. So that's interesting. I like the looks of it, the feel when I compare it to the Wingsung. They both feel, a little more quality than this guy here. You can feel it in the original Parker 51, but if that's not crazy important to you, these are pretty good. And so this is like around the $20 mark, and this is like $3-4. So that's quite a difference, and they do a good job with this one. As far as here's the problem though with this one is, so it's threaded, but it's 3 full turns. There's 2, 3, and change. Yeah, 3 and a bit, maybe an eighth or whatever, but 3 full turns. So that, and a lot of people didn't like how Parker jumped from the nice, beautiful clutch, pop cap system to a threaded pen. They didn't care for that. There were some other reasons that maybe it didn't do as well as thought, but it's still an all right pen. But yeah, 3 turns for a pen like this versus being able just to pop cap is quite, a bit of a disadvantage, I would say. I got nothing against a threaded cap, but once it's more than 1.5-ish turns, I'm like, 1 turn's always nice. Sub-turn, 1 turn is even better, but not the end of the world, but just a lot of spinning on and off, especially if you're someone who does that, writes a note, puts the cap back on, and then does it again. And even over time, this could wear a little bit too. They did improve, okay? So I always gripe about the plastic threads here. Maybe I'll show you with the burgundy pen so you can see a little more contrast. With the plastic threads going into metal, there's no metal on the cap there. They actually have a sleeve, a plastic sleeve with threads. So that should help with thread longevity. So not too bad. I can feel it not grinding the hell out of the threads. So big plus on that one. So then we take the business end apart here. They still got the same setup here as far as the section. Well, I wonder if they're the same threads. Can you do this? Can you mix and match? Nope, you can't. Okay. But, same overall construction. You can see a little bit of difference. But yeah, they're still doing the metal threads on the plastic here. And you can see how it's getting chewed up a little bit, but whatever. I don't know how you build anything like this for $2-3. It blows my mind. Cartridge converter. They have a gasket on here now. So that's a little bit interesting, but the gasket, you can see there, it gets beat up a little bit. So this is supposed to slide over top of it, but it's got a bit of a sharp edge. Like the bevel is like the wrong way. So it's a bevel this way, then sharp inner edge. They should have almost done it the other way, like break that edge so it ramps up over that gasket. But I don't know, maybe just the fitment is not quite there, but it seems it kind of pinches the gasket a little bit. So I could see that failing after some time. I haven't had these for a ton of time. I've enjoyed using them, but that might, I would not trust eyedroppering this thing at all. But all in all, build quality is pretty good. It feels, like I said, in the hand a little nicer than the 51A, but you got 3 full turns to undo it. So you might not be a fan of that side. As far as the feel of the material, it's not too bad. I did notice here on the burgundy one, look at all those turns. I don't know if the camera's going to pick that up, but you can sort of see the threads. Now, I think that's a little bit from the inside, from the construction assembly of everything. So you can see the threading that goes on the inside for the inner part. And it does get scratched up a little bit. This one here, it seems like just a little more of a superior plastic as far as marking and scratching. It doesn't get as marked up and the scratches aren't as deep and noticeable. So I think the plastic is a little bit better on here. And here you got such a random pattern. If there is any scratches, it helps hide that. So what I'll do a quick little writing sample, and then we'll just wrap it up and see which one you might think is the best cost-effective alternative to our proper Parker 51. Okay, Mr. Brown, where are we at? Let's do a quick look at the writing samples. So this is the original Parker 51, the Jinhao 51A, the Wingsung, and the two new Jinhao. So as far as writing experience, yes, this is way better. All of these, actually, I had to adjust the tines. They were out just a little bit, every single one of them. Not terribly bad, but enough where I could feel it, and I took a look at the nib and just took a few seconds to tweak them. Some were a little easier to adjust than others. Now, so it's tough to tell you of the alternatives, let's say, which one is the best as far as writing, because they were all out a bit anyways. But I would actually say the worst one, just on feel and smoothness and feedback and stuff, is the Wingsung 601. So it's actually the most expensive of the alternative options here. So that's a little interesting. Then as far as the new Jinhaos, right? So the 51A, not too bad, pretty reasonable. It's a fine point. So it is, it's not going to be an amazing writing experience, but pretty decent. Between the two of these, now, I was checking my order and I don't know the difference if they sent me the right ones or not. I did two different colors. This was supposed to be the 0.38 millimeters and this one a 0.5, but they seem very, very close in width and stuff, but it almost does seem like this one is the burgundy one here, a touch wider, but it's tough to distinguish that, but it does feel smoother. So I would say it's right head to head with the other Jinhao, which kind of makes sense. It's the same nib, as far as I know. But so those two feel very comparable to each other. This was possibly a little finer. I think that's why I felt that way. And this one was the least smooth. But again, they all needed a tweaking, so it's kind of a weird way to measure them. As far as build quality, well, it's tough to have a clear winner on this. So 51A, nothing wrong with it. Pop it open. It's got the pop cap, boom, way you go, works well. I mean, again, for all these price points, it does really well, but it's just not quite as nice on some of the build quality, sharper cap, but the pop cap action's pretty good. But, I have actually pinched myself on here before, did that quick and it pinched the skin. But, so it's okay. These guys, the build quality for this price, I think it is sub $3, but whatever, let's just say $3. Is pretty remarkable. I have to admit, the cap feels nicer than the $6 version, but like I said, they came into recognizing metal versus plastic metal wins, but then it's so many turns. Oh, if they did one turn, this would be crazy good. It's still good for this price, but 3 turns is just a bit much, man. Oh, they really missed it on that one, but it feels not too bad. The plastic is a little bit thinner and you can feel it, but it's not like really cheap, because also you have a nice cap. It's a little, that the cap does feel a little more luxurious, or whatever you want to say, and it balances nicely and it's not too bad. There's a bit of a sharper edge here on that step down right there as well too, but if they did one turn, I think right away I'd say this is better than this one, but the pop cap is really good. And as far as build quality for the Wingsung, it feels pretty decent, although I would say the new cap feels a little beefier a little more luxurious. But nice pop cap system as well. It is a smoother pop cap. Again, posts, they all do pretty good, but there's no sharp burrs on this pen anywhere. So from just a fit and finish, you're getting, I find, a better kind of build quality, but for whatever reason, and again, that's a one nib sample on however many millions upon millions of nibs that they make. So that it wouldn't surprise me if maybe this one isn't just the best example. But yeah, so there, I don't know what to conclude. Fantastic pen. If you got the money and you can afford to get yourself a Parker 51 and you think you might enjoy it, yeah, that's, it's your choice. But if you're wanting to get something, whether it's a knockabout pen or just don't want to leave this on, have that one leave the house and want a similar pen, but you not care if you lose a $3 pen or $5 pen, these are some options. Like I said, we're almost have a clear winner with their new one, but the too many turns, this is pretty decent. This is really good too. So $20, $6, $3, they're all pretty decent for that price, but for $3, wow. I think this is so, see, I can't even tell the difference. It's over here. For $3, the new Jinhao 86, I would say it's probably one of the better $3 pens I've come across. So what do you think, Mr. Brown? Well, I don't know. We had an inconclusive conclusion here. We couldn't figure out our minds exactly what's the best deal, but all in all, pretty good alternatives, especially for that price range. We'll just have to leave it that, and then you got to make up your own mind. Leave some comments, some likes, subscribes. Love engaging with you in the comments. And Mr. Brown and I will have to catch you next time.